Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam dear devotees. Today we are reading the book Light of Bhagavata by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. We shall continue to chapter number 44. In the autumn season, all the reservoirs of water are full of lotus flowers. There are also flowers that resemble the lotus, but are of a different class. Among them is a flower called Kumuda. When the sun rises, all the flowers but the Kumuda blossom beautifully. Similarly, lotus-like men take pleasure in the advent of a responsible king, but men who are like the Kumuda do not like the existence of a king. In this age of Kali, the people want their own government because the kings have become corrupt. Formerly, it was not like that. The sons of kings were trained under the guidance of a good Brahmana Acharya, just as the Pandavas and the Kauravas were put under the instruction of the qualified Brahmana professor Sri Dronacharya. Princes were rigidly trained in politics, economics, the military arts, ethics and morality, the sciences, and above all, devotional service to the Lord. Only after such good training were the princesses allowed to be enthroned. When such a prince became king, then too he was guided by the advice of good Brahmanas. Even in the Middle Ages, Maharaja Chandragupta was guided by the learned Brahmana Chanakya Pandita. In a monarchy, one man sufficiently trained was competent enough to conduct alone the business of the state. But in a democracy, no one is trained like a prince. Instead, politicians are voted to responsible posts of administration by diplomatic vote arrangements. In place of one king or supreme executive officer, in a democracy there are so many quasi-kings. The president, the ministers, the deputy ministers, the secretaries, the assistant secretaries, the private secretaries, and the under secretaries. There are a number of parties, political, social, and communal, and there are party whips, party whims, and so on. But no one is well enough trained to look after the factual interests of the governed. In a so-called democratic government, corruption is even more rampant than in an autocracy or monarchy. Men who want to flourish in the guise of servants of the people do not want a good king at the head of the state. They are like the Kumuda flowers, which do not take pleasure in the sunrise. The word Ku means bed and Mud means pleasure. Persons who want to exploit the administrative power for their own self-interest do not like the presence of a good king. Although professing democracy, they want to be kings themselves. Thus, they compete for votes by bad propaganda and take pleasure in having politics but no king. Thieves and dacoits also take no pleasure in the presence of a good king, but it is in the interest of the people to have a well-trained king as the head of the state. After the new grains were cut and brought home from the paddy fields, the people began to observe the Navanna ceremony everywhere, in the presence of the Lord as Sri Krishna and Baladeva. According to Vedic culture, learned men considered all natural products such as food grains, fruits, flowers and milk to be God-sent. No one can manufacture these things in man-made factories. However, scientifically advanced people may be. People can make preparations of such God-sent foodstuffs, but they cannot manufacture the natural ingredients. Spiritually cultured men therefore feel obliged to the Lord when they get sufficient natural foodstuffs by the grace of the Lord. The Navatna Prasanna ceremony is observed as a way of acknowledging the gifts of God. Newly collected grains would first be offered to the Lord by the villagers, either individually or collectively, and in either case all the members of the village would partake of the prasada thus offered to the Lord. Such ceremonies make the people happy and prosperous. We should always acknowledge the mercy of God. We should not think that we can produce ample food grains merely with the help of tractors and fertilizers. These can help us only as instruments for such production. Without the sanction of the Lord, there is no possibility of having grains, even if there are trucks and fertilizers. When Lord Krishna and Baladeva were present, the good men of Vrindavana realized that it was due to the presence of the Lord that their supply of food grains was sufficient. Some of the people of Vrindavan, including Lord Krishna's father, Nanda Maharaja, used to perform sacrifices to propitiate King Indra, the king of heaven, because he is the controller of rains. Without good rains, grains cannot be produced, and therefore the people would offer sacrifices to Indra. Lord Sri Krishna, however, stopped this age-old ceremony and advised his fathers to offer the same sacrifice to the Supreme Lord. His purpose was to teach that we need not satisfy the various demigods in charge of the various departments of cosmic affairs. Instead, we must offer sacrifices to the Supreme Lord, for the Lord is the master and all others are his servants. The famous Annakota ceremony, performed in Vrindavan especially and also in all other parts of India, this was thus introduced by the Lord, and people still follow this path by worshipping Govardhan Hill. Where the Lord used to take pleasure in tending cows, people also worship Giri Govardhana as identical with the Lord, because there is no difference between God and his paraphernalia and pastimes. The merchants, preachers, kings, and students who were confined to home during the 4 months June, July, August, and September began to flow out and attain success in life, just as perfected souls attain the required body as soon as they leave the present one. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.